till you made it.
Let's do something about that. There we go. Yeah, there's a little bit of a feature on StreamYards is creating the little square on my side, the left side of the screen. So that's why you're seeing me in the corner. But anyway, I'm Willy Bragg. How are you doing today? I was going to live stream last night, but I had some errands I had to run, and I was just too tired to go ahead and do it, and I really needed some to majorly eat, so I was starving. So anyway, that explains that. So I'm back here, normal schedule, normal show. So and we have right here on the chat line, Warren. How are you doing today? Thank you. I've had this thing for years. It's just time to wear it. Whether it's getting schizophrenic, but still on the warm side more than I care for it to be. So, and then we have, hey everyone, happy Wednesday, says Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. How are you doing as well? So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well today, and basically, I want to talk about. I saw a video the other day, and I figured that it was worth talking with everybody over, and it's basically the rift between Kyle Kulinski and Joe Rogan. Well, from the rift, I guess it's mostly on Kyle's end, it looks like. And the Amazing Atheist commented on it, and so basically what I'm going to do today, like it's really original, but let's pretend it's the year 2014, and I'm going to do just that. Basically, I am going to go and talk about the drama between Joe Rogan and Kyle Kulinski from a video that the Amazing Atheist done, and I'm going to be commenting on his comments as well on the rift between Joe Rogan and Kyle Kulinski. And if somebody likes this video enough, they too can sit there and comment on Willy Bragg, commenting on the Amazing Atheist, commenting on his take on Kyle Kulinski versus Joe Rogan. How does that sound? I've seen people do videos like that. So anyway, suffice to say, we will go ahead and get started right away. And so As you know, over the years, well, from the very early days, I've been listening to Kyle Kulinski long before he ended up going with uh what you call it, the silly Eminem look. So Eddie, and so I wanted to go and comment on how silly he has become in recent years. I would say probably, definitely by 2022, he was getting to be the quality of the program started to go downhill. And I'm really weird about Kyle because maybe there's like, maybe if he'll do like 7-8 videos a day on whatever, like a lot of other folks would, and usually maybe out of a 5-day week where he's doing like 7 or 8 videos, let's say he would do like 60 videos on whatever topics during a week. I would say of all the big wigs, he will still have a couple of videos or commentaries or take on policy that's still kind of spot on, but it's not like it used to be where nearly everything he was hitting the nail on the head. I mean, I agree with the extreme harsh critique of Donald Trump this second time round. I'm on that same page. However, sounding like you're a 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 resistance shit lib with the pink pussy hat is not very appealing. And that's how he's coming across. Maybe I'm mean to say that, but that's how it's coming across. I like how Chanda, Masta from Trailer Park Pundit put it about a week and a half ago. Nothing to do with him, but just the whole resistance. The resistance against Trump. You should resist against Trump. You also should resist against the resistance liberals. Because what is likely to happen is this: if democracy isn't too torn apart and dismantled by the regime, it's likely that the Democrats, as shitty of a shape they're at right now, that if Elon Musk and Donald Trump and his billionaire goons and the extreme right-wing fundamentalists, they're all part of this Project 25 started to do their horse shit onto the American people way worse than it is now. And it's pretty damn bad. What will likely happen is that the Democrats will take back the U.S. House of Representatives, maybe take back the Senate. At least one chamber I see going back to the Democrats. I would like to think that this is the death of the Democratic Party, and out of the ashes of the Democratic Party will come a new party, and some of those shitty Democrats can become Republicans or have their own centrist party, and that the real left, we can have our own populist, labor, progressive party, our own populist left-wing party that we can have of our own and be like a normal country around the world that has such an entity. But we'll see what happens. But more than likely, Democrats will regain the House. That's what I'm predicting. I could be wrong, and I'll eat crow if I'm wrong, But anyway, let me get this thing out of the way. That's very unprofessional on my part. So, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's been going down the hill too. I wasn't never really the biggest Joe Rogan fan in the world. And even now, I don't suffer what is called Joe Rogan derangement syndrome. But I do admit that Joe Rogan's content is not what it used to be. I mean, Joe Rogan used to be fair, and he will have guests from across the political spectrum. Sometimes it'd be non-political, and and what have you. And he seemed, I mean, he's a multi-millionaire, what have you. But as the optics go about him, back in his better days, I would say he came across as basically a nice guy who likes to have conversations. And I was like, okay, yeah, I don't like it when he has Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro or whatever type person like that on the show. But or Jordan Peterson or what have you, or Candace Owens or what have you on the show. But if he has them on the show, that's okay, because back then I was like, well, he did counter he did counter it with having and back then I would say David Pakman, when I used to like David Pakman, and he will have Shank Ugert, or he'll have the Amazing Atheist was on his Kyle Kulinski, Jimmy Dore, Cornell West. So he would have actually put in Abby Martin. He would have these guests on the show. When Tulsi Gabbard was on the left, he would have those guests on the show. And so it was like, well, okay, at least he has people on the left that provides a good argument for the left, as I saw it back in 2018, 2019, 2020, so forth, so on. And so, the whole thing about he has said some things that I disagree with. I mean, and I'm sure people might not totally. Some people in the audience might not totally agree with me, but I have no trouble with trans women in female sports. It's not a hill that I die on. And if you believe in equality, basic equality of all human beings, what to do in that regard is to allow them to go in there and participate. I don't have a problem with a transgender male participating in actual male sports either. And so, but Joe Rogan, and I disagree with Joe Rogan, but I don't think that Joe Rogan is some alt-right demon because of it. So that's basically what I wanted to address. So I got issues where I didn't agree with Joe Rogan, and whatever. I don't know if that makes him Matt Walsh. I don't know if that makes him, some fundamentalist Christian minister that wants to go and obsess over this sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But what I do know is that, he seems to be, in my opinion, overall, the vibes he gives me politically is that he's a somewhat apolitical, middle of the road libertarian that has some lefty takes on some issues here and there. That's how he comes across to me. How he may come across to others may be different. So first, I'm going to go and play a video from Tim Dillon about the whole Joe Rogan controversy, and then we'll get to the meat and potatoes of the whole content. So hold on a second here. Give me a moment. We'll get started. All right. I just think it's a good way to start this whole thing because I thought it was interesting. So let me go.
Milo, Vice.
Sorry about that. Let me roll it back to the beginning.
And the other thing is, Bernie put the Rogan clip out, and a lot of people flipped out. You're going to lose. Here's the deal. You're going to lose again. You want to lose. You fetishize being a loser, and you want to lose, you're putting people through these purity tests. It's gonna bite you. Rogan is such an asset to have, and whether I don't even think it's fair. By the way, I would be like, it's not fair to put out a clip of someone as an official endorsement if they haven't officially endorsed you. I don't know that they had a conversation with Joe or not, but my whole thing is like, to get angry about it is so fucking childish. And
I mean, I don't know how more progressive, because I listened to over the years a bunch of Rogan stuff, and like, I don't know how much more progressive he can be.
They want him to cut his dick off.
Yeah, I mean,
they want him to transition. He could be more progressive if he cut his dick off on air and became a woman.
Of course,
that's what they're looking for. They want him to saw his cock off and shove it in Barry Rice's throat, and then that's how he could be more progressive. Okay, he takes his dick off and then he throws it in Barry Rice's face and goes, "Free Palestine." And then it would be okay to endorse Bernie Sanders. He's had on Abby Martin, Kyle Kulinski, Cornel West, Bernie Sanders, David Pakman. He talked to Matt Taibbi in his 3 to 4 hour conversations about things like, prison industrial complex, Israel and Palestine, race, inequality, all of those things. And you turn on CNN, they've got Richard Spencer, Stormy Daniels, Rachel Maddow is fucking talking about Putin hiding in a closet, and then she goes has dinner with Roger Ailes, and she probably puts on a strap on and fucks him. So let's get real. Rachel Maddow and Roger Ailes have dinner together. It's all fake.
He had a conversation with Milo. Vice.
Tim Dillon is right. I mean, the way that people acted about that endorsement from Bernie Sanders in 2020, and he sort of did it seems like he did a co-endorsement of Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. That's my understanding. As I said, he did that. And with the Bernie Sanders endorsement, I remember how crazy, it feels weird to even talk about this because Bernie Sanders has been a fucking disappointment lately. I mean, real fucking disappointment. Co-sponsoring legislation by Lindsey Graham of all people. That's pretty damn low. And then you're gonna go snap at a code pink person outside. It's like, oh, excuse me, I don't have time for this. It's like, well, fuck you, Bernie. At this point, and just really just irritated me that he that's the way he has become. And and I don't hate Bernie, but he's been becoming a fucking disappointment and more lately. But let's backtrack back into the 2020 when perhaps all of us here, virtually all of us, did believe in Bernie to one degree or another. The Clintonites and the Democratic establishment and the shitlibs that suffered from Bernie Sanders derangement syndrome just went nuts. And they were like, they were just going nuts over the fact that Joe Rogan, how can you accept an endorsement from Joe Rogan? Accept an endorsement from anybody you damn well please. There was no reason to feel guilty about a Joe Rogan endorsement in 2020. I mean, if I ran for office and Joe Rogan found out I was running for office and he was like, I'm going to go and support Willy Bragg. I hope Willy Bragg wins. I'm not going to be like, well, fuck you, Joe Rogan. I don't want your fucking endorsement. You take that fucking endorsement and shove it up your ass. I'm not going to do that, but because, as I said, I don't suffer from Joe Rogan derangement syndrome even now. I just look at him as sad and I'm disappointed. But look, if I can get over Tulsi Gabbard lying to me, if I can get over Tulsi Gabbard, Kyle sure as hell could get over Joe Rogan because his admiration for Joe Rogan is, at that time, I mean, it was, there was, I'm sorry. I don't think that I don't think there was anything, quote unquote, sexual as far as, simping for Joe Rogan the way he did years ago. Whereas I'm guilty of, I did like her on a lot of policies, Tulsi Gabbard, but I'm going to tell you like this. my dick was dictating my opinion of Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, I'm just gonna lay it out. Don't mean to be crude about it, but my dick was just saying, yes, Tulsi, I'm paying attention. Swing. So, anyway, let's go ahead. I'm sorry for that. Let's go ahead and talk about the Joe Rogan, Kyle Kulinski feud and the Amazing Atheist, talking about it. So I'll go be sharing my opinion. So here we go. Alrighty.
Into the fray. Into the fray. From February of 2018 to February of 2023, Kyle Kulinski appeared on the Joe Rogan show no less than 6 times, 5 as a solo guest, and once for 2020 election coverage alongside Tim Dillon. It seems pretty safe to say that Kyle and Rogan's relationship was pretty cordial back in those days. But guess what? Things have soured, because these days Kyle is churning out anti-Rogan videos at a pace of nearly 1 per week, with titles like, "What the hell happened to Rogan?" and "Joe Rogan's brain is barbecued chicken." You know what I think it is? I think it's Kyle dyed his hair blonde. I think Rogan doesn't like that. Doesn't like the gay Eminem look. But really, this is not just a drift from friendship to indifference. It's a sharp turn into utter disdain.
Let me comment on the dyed hair look. It's kind of ironic that TJ brought it up because, as I said, I'll be real. I was kind of influenced by Kyle Kulinski to start this program, the Willy Bragg Show, what became the Willy Bragg Show back in early 2020. That was at that time I was a Kyle Kulinski fan. Again, not so much today. But back then, I did interpret a lot of his takes on issues as gospel of all the online left commentators at that time, of the large name commentators on the left. And, I was like, no, he was better than listening to David Pakman or Sam Cedar or the Young Turks. And I will argue he still is, but he just kind of lost the edge he used to have. And about the dyed hair remark, it's funny because, of course, you know me, I was previously gray-headed. I had the same color hair that Kyle has today, but it was not because I dyed it white. It was because my genes make my hair turn white very early. So, and I don't like that. I liked it when my hair was dark, so I dyed it dark. While ironically, Kyle wants to look like he's 57 years old with the gray hair. I mean, I don't think that's what he's trying to do, but cause and effect. But the dime store Eminem look is silly.
At least on Kyle's end. As for Joe, as far as I can tell, there's no sign that he's even acknowledged Kyle or his criticisms. If he has any feelings about it whatsoever, they remain an absolute mystery. So let's take a look at what Kyle has been saying, why he's so angry at his former friend. The most obvious reason is that Joe Rogan endorsed and supported Donald Trump for president. But for Kyle, I think this goes a little bit beyond politics. Listen to what Kyle says in this clip, where he is upset that Rogan came to disregard something that Kyle had explained to him all the way back in 2020.
I was on Rogan's show in 2020 on election day, and I told him and Tim Dillon about this thing called the Red Mirage, what was likely to happen, which is it's going to look like Trump is winning early in the night because you got the rural areas coming in first. You got the votes that come in from election day get counted first. Those are going to skew way more Republican because Trump has been shitting on mail-in votes and calling it fraudulent, right? And then later on, you get more of the cities come in and you get the mail-in votes counted. Those are going to skew way more Democratic, also because Democrats were taking COVID more seriously, so they wanted to vote by mail. They didn't want to go to a place with a lot of people when it was time to cast the votes. And exactly what I said would happen is what happened. And he told me after that fact that every time people have come to him with rigged election conspiracy theories where they think Trump actually won and it was stolen from him, he told me what I would tell them is Kyle Kulinski told me exactly how the election was going to go before it happened and explained it to me in clear terms. And so I never bought into any of the election rigging conspiracies.
I'm going to comment on Kyle. Okay, well, everything he just said, I agree with. As far as the election rigging is concerned, there was no. The only election rigging I saw in 2020 was in the primaries against Bernie Sanders. As it was in the year 2016. But what he said about the election results regarding Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. Yeah, I do not think that infractions, yes. Attempts on both sides, yes. But was there any grand scheme to try to go and unfairly take the election away from Trump, and that was his rightful place? No, Trump was being just a sore loser little bitch about it and just whined for the past 4 years. I wish he shut the fuck up about how the election was rigged and everything like that. And, now, do I think that they went harsh on him with the 91 corruption charges? I'll tell the hardcore MAGA people, I don't think he's guilty of all those 91 charges, but he's certainly not innocent of all of them either. I mean, the guy's corrupt. He's corrupt as shit. He's corrupt. But to a lot of people, he is the most honest politician you ever imagined, even though that motherfucker can lie more than anything else. I'm just going somewhere with this. I was going somewhere with this. Oh, yeah. In defense of Kyle in the year 2020, whereas he and Crystal Ball voted for, was very disappointed that they went with the vote blue no matter who and voted for Kamala Harris when the plan was to vote for Jill Stein. And I think he was angry with Biden enough to endorse Jill Stein because of the genocide in Gaza. However, he decided to go and vote for Kamala Harris. But in 2020, he did not vote at all for anybody on a presidential level. And I believe he voted for Jill Stein in 2016. I'll go and let him continue.
This is what he said. Then he interviews Trump, sits across from Trump, lets Trump babble relentlessly about how the election was stolen from him, doesn't push back, and then now after the fact admits, oh yeah, that guy's been fucking lying the entire fucking time, and it turns out voting is real.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't push back against Trump. That is something to be very disappointed about with regard to Joe Rogan. But you know what, Kyle? Kamala Harris made a mistake. She made a mistake because she did not go on Joe Rogan, and there was an opportunity for her to go on Joe Rogan. I'm not going to say she would have won the election. She would have gone on Joe Rogan, but it certainly would not have hurt her or Tim Walz to go on Joe Rogan. That was a big mistake. And so, a lot of people fall for 30-second sound bites, and they fall for a lot of bullshit. And the Democrats are too fucking stupid to realize how you can fucking win elections. It's almost as if they're not going to go and utilize that 20%, that 80% it takes for it to easily beat Republicans, but they're going to go and emphasize on that harsh 20% that's basically a losing issue. So, it just is crazy.
Yeah, you don't say.
Wow! Kitty has got some claws, eh? Kyle feels like he gave Joe Rogan the perfect ammo to discredit Trump's 2020 election narrative. But that night, when Rogan needed that ammo the most, when he was face to face with Trump himself, he discarded everything that Kyle had said and just played the simp, gave the softball interview, gave the wet blowjob interview, gave Trump the sensuous testicle massage under the table. So why does Kyle think this happened? because Rogan fell in with some bad friends and listened to the wrong people, which of course strongly implies that Kyle himself is the good friend, the right person, the person that Joe should have listened to.
Now his entire friend group is all right wing. And he's admitting here, yeah, Dana White was pressuring me and many other people were pressuring me and they were saying, why don't you endorse Trump? And then he did.
On top of the Trump stuff, Kyle also sees that Rogan, who once perfectly captured the everyman appeal, has essentially become a billionaire dick rider who carries water for the oligarchy and for Elon Musk in particular.
They see no problem with Elon Musk and Mark. Joe had on his podcast Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Mark Zuckerberg, all of these robber baron oligarchs who are rigging the system, and he let them lie to his audience for 3 hours straight. But now he's going to sit here and pretend like, bro, the corruption on the Democratic side's out of control. And at this point, I don't know how anybody watches this, but be honest with you. At this point, it's like the old appeal, the old charm of the Joe Rogan experience is so dead and gone, it's laughable. Because his show now, half the time, at least, is the Elon Musk suckfest experience.
Okay, here's where I agree with Kyle, is Joe Rogan seems to be fascinated by the false genius that is Elon Musk. And it irritates me. Do I think that Elon Musk is a stupid person or some kind of fucking retard? No, obviously not. However, he's not this prize genius that people make him out to be. You know, I mean, you know, he's not an inventor. He's not any of these things. He just knows how to have people, the right people networking under him. And that's what it comes down to. But that, you know, some of the stuff that's being created, what have you, would have been created without Elon Musk. So I'm not going to look at Elon Musk and be like, you know, any potential good that came out of his financial empire is of his making. Hell no. I refuse to, because I know what the truth is. In fact, I think that SpaceX ought to be taken away from Elon Musk and morphed it into NASA. I think that Twitter ought to be taken away from Elon Musk and sold to somebody, that an entity that's actually going to protect real free speech for everyone. Because you know, as far as the social media is concerned, that's the new town square, and everybody's violating the Constitution left and right all over the damn place. And if you want to keep things on a constitutional basis, I don't care if it violates property rights, the free speech issue triumphs over property rights. So yeah, I don't have a problem with taking Twitter away from Elon Musk as well. He's proved that he can't handle it.
Like it just is. It like meat riding Elon 24/7. It's like he's never heard a single argument against anything Elon is doing. He does this really beta cuck thing where he's like, oh, my puny brain could never live up to the amazing big brain of Elon Musk. Oh, he's such a mega genius. I don't even feel human when I'm near him because he's just so smart. Oh, Elon, can I give you a hand job?
Okay, that was old school Kyle right there. And that is how basically Joe Rogan behaves toward Elon Musk.
To the amazing big brain of Elon Musk. Oh, he's such a mega genius. I don't even feel human when I'm near him because he's just so smart. Oh, Elon, can I give you a hand job?
After Rogan attacked Tim Walz, who I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Kyle has a crush on Tim Walz. After Rogan attacked that guy, things escalated. The actual substance of the video is not all that interesting to me, but Joe Rogan basically called Tim Walz Tampon Tim, and Kyle wasn't having it.
Tim Walz was the better half of the ticket for Kamala Harris. I didn't, as I said, I didn't vote for Kamala Harris. If I would have voted for Kamala Harris in 2024, it would not really have been a vote for Kamala Harris. It would have probably more likely been a vote for Tim Walz. And Tim Walz is not perfect on everything, by the way, hardly. But ideologically, he was to the left of Kamala Harris. And I can see why Kyle Kulinski see the appeal to some degree on Tim Walz. Tim Walz, he's saying that they need a loose cannon. They need somebody like Trump who's a loose cannon for the left. And, yeah, I mean, I think that Tim Walz was kind of that, and they put the man on a fucking leash during the campaign. It's what Democrats do. They see something that's working on their favor, they'll go and be like, we can't do that. We might actually win an election, that way. So, they rather, the Democratic Party's so screwed up. But anyhow, we'll let TJ continue.
And later in the same video, this moment happens. And I got to be honest with you, I kind of fucking love it.
Joe Rogan sat there while Trump said to him, I never said lock her up about Hillary. I never said lock her up. I'd say, whoa, and they would say lock her up. Meanwhile, cut to the fucking compilation of him saying it like 100 times. I'm like, fucking, of course he did. Of course he said that. Of course he said that. You let Trump lie to your face relentlessly for fucking 3 hours straight, and you sat there giggling like a schoolgirl, you bitch.
Kyle also had some incredibly harsh words to say about the quality of Joe's show in general, essentially lambasting him as a hypocrite whose intellectual curiosity has shriveled away to nothing, and whose latest shows are insipid right-wing dreck, which is terrible for the country and for anyone stupid enough to still be listening. So
I heard Kyle refer to or compare Joe Rogan one time to Rush Limbaugh. And I have, as I said, any criticism I have of Joe Rogan now, I would never put him on par with the piece of shit the late Rush Limbaugh was when he was alive. And he was a piece of shit from the day he was born to the day he died, referring to Rush Limbaugh, of course. But anyhow.
This is what the Joe Rogan experience has become. I watched a great video on this the other day. I forget, Mr. Beat or something like that did it. And he made a great point. He was like a huge Joe Rogan fan, and then now he's not at all. And the argument he made is like, look, I liked listening to Rogan's podcast when Rogan was a genuinely curious individual who asked a lot of questions. Like, he had a childlike curiosity about everything. And so he would bring on these people from different fields, different, people with different expertise, and he would ask them things he was interested in. He'd have on like some sleep specialist to talk about the importance of sleep, and he would probe him for an extended period of time, right? Or whatever. Like, he used to have interesting podcasts where he's a curious guy and he dives into specific things from a variety of different topics. That's what he did. Well, some point along the way, he fucking lost it. And now it's, let me bring on the biggest charlatans, con men, and frauds and fucking goofballs. And every day, same fucking narrative. Oh my God, COVID authoritarianism. Oh my God. Oh my God, wokeness bad, wokeness bad. Oh my God, bro, the Democrats are so stupid, bro. This is all you hear. This is all you hear. And it's never, now he literally endorsed Trump, had him on the podcast, let him lie to his audience for 3 fucking hours. And he had the nerve, after all of that, to say, who, me, bro? I got ideas that are like right-wing ideas and left-wing ideas, Republican ideas and Democrat ideas. Like, I'm not actually even part of a tribe, bro, or anything like that, dog. Go fuck yourself. You don't get to fuck.
Wow. You that mad at Joe Rogan? You're that mad? Come on now. Are you really that butthurt over Joe Rogan? That's kind of petty. I agree. Joe Rogan sucks more than he does it these days, as far as the content's concerned. But saying you bitch and fuck off and all that, is that really necessary? Why don't you save that for people who truly deserves it? I mean, that are in, I mean, I don't even feel that way about Alex Jones, his crazy ass, because with Alex Jones, I don't take him seriously, But save it for Michael Savage or Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens or Mark Levin or Sean Hannity or what have you. Yeah, I would save it for people, Jesse Kelly in particular, or Laura Loomer. Save that for that. That tirade or the rhetoric for them, because they truly deserve that. But I wouldn't go that far, Anyway, you just look butthurt doing that, Kyle. It's not good for optics.
Fucking cheerlead for MAGA and Trump, coddle Elon's nutsack when he's on your show once a fucking month. Have on JD Vance, have on Donald Trump, never fucking fact check them or ask them any serious questions. Have on all the robber barons and then pretend like, who, me, bro? I'm like in the middle or something, dog. No big deal. So, but
guys,
believe you me, it's getting worse.
All in all, over the last 4 months, Kyle has made 14 videos now about Joe Rogan. And I might be missing some, to be honest with you. It's become this weird one-sided feud, a vendetta. And clearly it is, to some extent, personal. That being said, there's a reason why I'm not showing you more clips right now. The reality is that while Kyle's personal feelings come up from time to time in these videos, sometimes simmering just beneath the surface, other times boiling over a little bit, most of what these videos are is just Kyle using Rogan's name to make political arguments. Kyle's always been a policy wonk, but he knows that policy-centric videos are not sexy to the average YouTube viewer. But you know what is sexy? Using big names to get big old drama clicks. Kyle knows that as a 6-time Joe Rogan guest, people are fascinated that he is now shit-talking Rogan nearly nonstop.
Actually, I kind of find it boring that Kyle Kulinski would do that. I find it kind of boring that he would sit there and focus that way. I'm trying to think of the name of that guy. Russell Brands, I can understand going after Russell Brands. I can understand going after Dave Rubin, because you feel betrayed, by these people, Tulsi Gabbard. I can see, when Kyle goes after these folks, Robert F. Kennedy, people like that. Robert F. Kennedy, the Democratic Party kind of fucked him over too. But the point I'm trying to make is that, I would just save it. I just think that he's letting himself be too butthurt over Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan is just not worth the time, honestly. And I think that the Amazing Atheist is humored by this. So, and I know he's friends with Kyle, so I don't think there's any bad intent on his part. But it's just something he's noticed that enough to make a video about it. So. We'll let them continue.
But really what he's doing is about 2% actual shit talking and 98% using Joe Rogan's name to educate his viewers about policy positions and political points that matter to him. I suppose I'm doing something kind of similar by even talking about this. I've had conversations with both of these guys. Kyle, I've been watching on and off for years. Joe Rogan, I never really watched, but I see clips here and there.
That's where I'm at. I've seen clips here and there. And if I see somebody who's going to be interviewed that's worth listening to, I'll go and watch that. But it's kind of like I go on with my life, and Joe Rogan doesn't really play a role in my day-to-day life as far as internet, as far as social media is concerned, and who I follow and don't follow and what have you. He's just not that relevant in my eyes.
I liked going on his show. He seemed like a really nice dude. But I have to say, when I've seen him recently, his energy is very different. He seems a little more high-strung. more nervous. And I occasionally detect hints of like that 1,000-yard stare that crazy people get when they go absolutely batshit nuts. The Roseanne Barr eyes, you know, those beady little, oh shit, what's going on out there? Ultimately, I think you have a situation here where Kyle is a guy whose politics are centered around policy, and Rogan is a guy whose politics are centered around vibes, man. And for a while, policy and vibes lined up in such a way where the two of them could kind of coexist happily. But now vibes and policy are enemies. It's all out of whack. And so now Rogan and Kyle are enemies. Watching Kyle's Rogan videos over the last 4 months, I think that at first he held out some hope that his words would reach Rogan and pressure him into a course correction. But as time went on, that hope curdled into something much closer to resentment. The more Rogan drifted into the orbit of figures Kyle despises, you know, the oligarchs, the reactionaries, the grifters, the more Kyle seemed to take it a little personally, as if he wasn't just watching some media figure lose the plot. He was watching a friend willfully ignoring everything that he seemingly once knew to be true. At first, Kyle's criticisms carried the tone of an exasperated teacher trying to correct a wayward student.
Okay, that actually comes close to home what he just said right there, because I have some friends, former friends, who's taken a negative turn politically. One person that I used to be friends with is actually a relatively well-known national figure today in politics. And we served together in the College of Democrats at East Carolina University. And he was a radical lefty to my left in a lot of ways when we first met. I shifted further left, and he went into right-wing anti-immigrant territory. And he's basically I would call this person alt-right, and if he's not alt-right, he's alt-light. Unfortunately, it was sad to see how he just started embracing a lot of conspiracy theories, and this person felt inadequate because every girl he dated at East Carolina was turning lesbian on him. You know, there was partly that. And he felt inept and inadequate, and he went far into the right-wing category and territory, shall I say. And, you know, there's a couple of, and I've lost a friend of 20 years over fucking Israel because, he decided that any criticism of Israel is an attack on his culture. So he guy who was a Bernie bro in 2016 turned into a Ron DeSantis supporter in 2024. This is how far gone this guy is, and he thinks that Greg Abbott, Jasmine Crockett. The only good thing I'm gonna say about her, she comes up with great one-liners, but she's an uninteresting Democrat otherwise. But Governor Hot Wheels, and I have no problem with actually taking something that is a limitation on somebody when they're a fucking asshole to people otherwise. So yes, Governor Hot Wheels, he thinks that Governor Hot Wheels is one of the best governors in the country. We never had a conversation about the Hot Wheels remark. My problem basically is, so I know a few people that have actually taken a position in a wrongful direction. And it kind of hurts you in a way, because you just like, it's like they've taken everything that they believed at one point and like, ugh, I can't stand that. It's like, it's one thing to take maybe a couple of issues and evolve here and there. You can evolve on an issue here and there. You know, you can go and say, well, this is the way I used to feel about A and B and C. But you know, I don't necessarily see it that way anymore. As I gotten older, I see things from a different light. But then you have people that will go and be like, everything I believed in 2 years ago, I hate everything I ever believed in 2 years ago. Everything that I ever believed in when I was on the other side politically fucking sucks. I don't get that. I don't get that. I get people being ideological, but I just don't get over a course of a night, figuratively speaking, in terms of time, a 2-year period that you could take everything you basically believed in and be a shittier person 2 years later on virtually all those subjects. You know, to favor Medicare for all 1 year and 2 years from now, be against it. To favor unions here, and then 2 years later, think unions are horrible. Previously you thought LGBTQ people should be entitled to equal rights. Now you think that there's some kind of agenda to groom kids. You saw injustice in terms of police brutality. This person from Greenville, from ECU, literally did at one time. Now he supports the cops 100%. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. People who just change because, you know, I don't know what it is about a person. I don't think I could ever be that way. I mean, you know, is it possible I could change and be more conservative with age? Maybe, maybe not. I just don't think I could go and sit there and take basically 100% of whatever I agree now, and 2 years from now says, you know, fuck everything I ever believed in previously. You know, I just don't think. I mean, we're all complex human beings, and if such a person is like that, you know, then, you know, it tells me something is wrong with them as far as their character is concerned. But anyway,
Now they feel more like an indictment, a eulogy for the Joe Rogan that he once knew, laced with all this bitterness of someone who feels not just disappointed, but betrayed. And yet, despite the escalation in tone, Rogan remains silent. No response, no acknowledgement, no counterattack. Our best hope for that ever happening is probably some future guest on Joe Rogan's show bringing it up. Failing that, I don't think we'll ever see Rogan directly address any of Kyle's criticisms because it's not his style.
I just don't think that Joe Rogan cares one way or the other.
Rogan tends to engage with controversy only when it's unavoidable, when it spills over into mainstream discourse or threatens his bottom line. But Kyle is not CNN. Kyle is not the New York Times. He's just another YouTuber.
Kyle's another YouTuber who wants a job at MSNBC. He will probably deny that till he's blue in the face, and I probably wouldn't blame him for it. But that's how he strikes me, blazer and all.
And as far as Rogan's concerned, Kyle might as well be shouting into the fucking void, right? That leaves Kyle in a strange position. His vendetta against Rogan is getting him views, sure, but it's a one-sided war. He's swinging at a ghost, railing against a man who either doesn't care or refuses to dignify the attacks with a response, or maybe is not even aware it's happening. And so the question becomes, how long does Kyle keep this up? Does Kyle continue to make Rogan videos every week, hoping for a reaction that never comes? Or does he eventually move on, leaving behind a trail of angry thumbnails and unanswered attacks?
If I was Kyle, I would just go on with my life. Don't let Joe Rogan, just do that to you. Now, I can understand maybe the anger a little more. And I'm going to bring up an old drama with the Jimmy Dore thing with TYT, because, fuck TYT and that whole thing, and that whole scenario. But I think that Jimmy Dore could have been more understanding toward Kyle. Kyle actually did back Jimmy Dore 100%. Well, not 100%, 90% was on Jimmy Dore's side over that whole situation. And I felt like the Jimmy Dore might have been a little more petty on Kyle in that regard. Because I used to hold high esteem for both Kyle and Jimmy in that regard prior to that situation, because I used to think that Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kulinski were the best part of the Young Turks, still do, looking back in retrospect. But as far as Joe Rogan's concerned, Joe Rogan don't give a damn, and he should realize that and just go on with his life. But if all he's trying to do is to do whatever he can for potential clicks, I guess if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, I just have to say about Kyle is that he needs to do better.
At some point, the grudge match starts to look a lot less like a fight and more like a guy yelling at an empty chair, like Clint Eastwood. Remember that? And the longer that goes on, the more people start to wonder, who's really winning here? Of course, like I said, the main thing driving Kyle is ultimately the dissemination of his politics to the broadest possible audience. So he probably doesn't even really care about the concept of winning against Joe Rogan. For him, it's probably more about using Rogan's name as a conduit for the arguments he actually cares about. Whether or not Rogan ever responds is kind of besides the point. Kyle gets to frame the discussion on his terms, reaching people who might not otherwise have engaged with his political takes. In that sense, Rogan is less of an adversary and more just a tool, a recognizable name that functions as a gateway to broader ideological critiques that Kyle Kulinski wants to make. That's why Kyle keeps on making these videos, even as the feud remains completely one-sided. Because every time he puts Joe Rogan in the title, he taps into an audience that might not have typically clicked on a video about tax policy or labor rights or healthcare reform. And as long as that strategy keeps working, keeps bringing in the views, the engagement, the opportunities to push his messaging, I guess he has no real reason to stop. So maybe this really isn't even a grudge match at all. Maybe it's just business. Kyle gets to use Rogan as a symbol of the broader right-wing drift in media, and Rogan, whether he knows it or not, provides the perfect punching bag. So as long as people keep watching, I guess Kyle has every reason to keep on swinging. On a side note, the other night on an episode of my podcast, I actually got a little bit hot under the collar at Rogan, and I might have said a few things. Let's take a look at that.
I feel embarrassed that I was on your show twice. I only did it because the fucking people watch your dumbass. I've never liked your shit, you fucking mongoloid moron.
Oh, shit.
You bald-headed fucking... The only reason I fucking have bit my tongue in the past is because, like, some vague part of me is like, maybe I'll get on again. But that ain't happening. I'm a fucking has-been at this point, so I can just say, fuck Joe Rogan and his bald-headed ass. He's a retard. He's always been bad for the intellect of this fucking nation. And this shit he's spewing right now is fucking utter garbage horse shit. And I wish I could take a big shit right in his mouth.
You know what? I'm an angry guy. Sometimes I get a little upset. Sometimes I get a little hot and bothered. I just want to say, I'm just kidding, Joe. You know I love you, right? You know I love your fucking big, bald, stupid ass. Right, Joe? Yeah, you know. We're cool.
Subscribe, rate, comment.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, as I said, I thought that was funny how what he said about Joe Rogan at the end. And at least I can say this about TJ. I don't think he's changed that much. And as far as his content, between Kyle and Joe Rogan and the Amazing Atheist here, who calls himself Into the Fray these days, I guess you could say I'm probably the most pro Amazing Atheist out of the three. As I said, I just think that Kyle needs to just go on with his life. It's silly to sit there if he really is having tears over Joe Rogan's semi non-existent ideological transformation. I just don't think that Joe Rogan gives a fuck one way or the other. He doesn't give a fuck. Not at all. I mean, and just he just needs to just go on with his life. I've said that about a million times. So anyway, let's go and talk to everyone here on the chat line. And Great Patine, how are you doing today? Yes, I too was very much in love with Tulsi Gabbard. Same thing with AOC. I still think that AOC and Tulsi Gabbard are beautiful women, but I have been disappointed politically by their direction. So there's that. Let's see here. Colin Bullock, Willy Bragg is a dirtbag leftist. Well, so I've said in the past. Yes. I'm just an old lefty. Like what George Galloway said, I'm just a working class socialist from 40 years ago who's never changed. Something like that. He said that on Twitter today. Kameshwari Kate, I'm on time. You're always on time as far as I'm concerned. You're always welcome here. So welcome on board. Let's see. Kyle, as Earl says, Kyle's like most on the media where they say really doesn't matter because they will eventually tell you to vote blue no matter who. And that is my biggest beef against Kyle. If Kyle can go back to that sense of independence that he used to have. And now, I'm not saying that he was 100% independent. His aim was to always focus on the hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. And he did it in a way that seemed more independent several years ago. But today, he sounds so obnoxiously vote blue no matter who when he's saying things like, well, the Democrats are a trillion times better. I hate the two-party system. I will say that the Democrats may be slightly better than the Republicans, only because they're socially more accepting on some social issues, but they're still a shit party. So, I just not going to gloss it over too much with them. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, wait, I'm on the prep time, my screwy stream. Oh, okay. Wait, you're talking about from a few minutes ago. Yeah, I think that a lot of computers will act kind of weird like that. So, I'm just teasing. Glad that you could make it. I'm glad I could make it because I've been fighting the city and logging at Stanley Park and have been spending very much time in the park out of the streets with banners. Oh, you mean like a protest? I would love to. Working graveyard shift doesn't give me an opportunity to go out and protest as much. Although I, once in a blue moon, will go to a protest. Let's see. I'm trying to. Willie, I got to be honest. I can only pay attention to Kyle for so long. I talked to Angel Rivera about that this past week, like about a week ago. I contacted him on Twitter privately. I don't think he'll care that I mentioned this. I was like, dude, you're right about Kyle. He is hard to listen to these days. Sometimes that voice, it's like, I hate to say it, he sounds more weaselly today than he used to. And I don't like the sound of my own voice, by the way. In spite of doing this video, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. When I hear myself, when I go on later on to listen to, and I will listen to my own show later on sometimes just to see how I sound, to try to correct some mistakes that I would make, or what have you. And I will hear myself, I'm like, that's how I sound. And I'm like, oh God, this is how I sound. And I'm trying to work on it if that's how I'm coming across. So, Kyle is a dork, which is fine, but he thinks Johnny Depp, which is but he thinks Johnny Depp, which is not. Oh, Kyle's adorable, which is fine, but he thinks Johnny Depp, which is not. I'm interpreting that as he's some kind of a fan of Johnny Depp. I don't know. I watched the video the other day. Hey, Cisco, how are you? The TLDR is Kyle going after Joe for a good reason, and Joe doesn't care. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Joe is a right-wing grifter now. I mean, he is. I mean, he's just maybe not as obnoxious as, say, someone like Dave Rubin, which Dave Rubin blocked me on Twitter, just to let you know. See, Kyle hate grifters, but he tells people to vote Dems over the Green Party. Yeah, Kyle, it ain't going to happen. I mean, I'm not saying that the Green Party's perfect. I am registered a Green. Doesn't mean that I will vote 100% Green for the rest of my life or anything like that. There's an independent socialist running that actually has a program that sounds better than the Greens or the Democrats. I'll go and vote for that independent socialist or what have you. So my point is to vote as far left as I can on the ballot. And the Greens Greens is still a good party. They're not perfect, but no party is. So that's basically what it came down to. Let's see here. I lost longtime friends of decades to Trump and right-wing bullshit. I've lost friends from both sides of the Trump equation over Trump himself. In 2016, I lost a lot of friends because I voted for Jill Stein. I could not vote for Hillary Clinton. I despise Hillary Clinton, and I just couldn't vote for her. As far as on the Trump side, yeah, I have lost friends because you got too many dick riders for Trump, and there's the very same people who claim that the Obama worship was a cult by liberals and Democrats. I never really thought that liberals and Democrats worshipped Obama. Now, you could say that they were worshiping the idea of identity politics of Obama being the first black president, but that's not the same as worshiping Obama. On the other hand, the Trump worship is warped. It is warped because I would think that anybody who would be turned off by Obama later on would look at Trump and be turned off by Trump even more because Trump is such a compulsive liar and he's such a sleazebag. He's the kind of sleazebag. A lot of these motherfuckers on the right who hated Bill Clinton in the 1990s for being a sleazebag, and he was, they forgive Trump on that. It's really crazy. It's a cult. Not everybody is a cult member of the pro-Trump movement, but a lot of them do have a cult-like mentality. It sucks, but you can find out who people really are. Very true. And I have over the years. I don't want to be friends with someone who thinks a homeless person can fuck off. Yeah, yeah. I mean, every homeless person, I'm not going to sit there and be like, here's the thing. You want to go and remove a homelessness, outlawing it's not going to do it. But making housing available to everyone is the way to go about it. See, I think because they never actually believe in this value is a club for them. That's kind of what it happens. And totally agree. 100% on Kyle wanting an MSNBC position. It's not just Kyle, but Kyle is definitely a poster child of somebody who wants that job at MSNBC. He wants that nightly show on MSNBC. He may talk shit about MSNBC, but I know that he would love to have a job for MSNBC. Same thing with David Pakman. David Pakman wants a job for MSNBC. I would say that Nomiki Kantz wants a job for MSNBC. Back in the days when the Young Turks were a proper, well, not proper. Back in the days when the Young Turks were edgy, Cenk Uygur, he did have a job for MSNBC. Walked out on an MSNBC contract. I think that his walking out of that MSNBC contract was not sincere, but it was a great way to show that you're not a sellout. But really, Cenk turned out to be a sellout when he's sucking up to Charlie Kirk and assholes like that. So there is that. Let's see here. TJ admitted that he could have kept going down the right-wing pipeline and made money, but instead wanted to have some integrity. Yeah, there was a time in 2016 when those who were perhaps sincere, that political correctness might have been a problem, and they started winning admiration from a right-wing crowd, and they decided that's where the money is. So instead of a critique to make the left better, they decided to go fully right-wing. And I'm glad he didn't do that. I'm glad his shoe on head didn't do that. But sadly, people like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool did. The verdict is still out on if that was what Jimmy Dore's trying to do. John Kemper, how are you doing today? Great seeing you here. I hate hearing my voice too. Yeah, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I'm like, when I listen to my voice, gosh, So it's okay. Anna has blocked me, but that's a large number of people. I am in good company of. Let's see. I've said this before because a couple of times I've been got blocked by Dave Rubin. Meghan McCain blocked me. That was awesome. Nina Yankowicz, the bitch from that was going to be the director of the governance information board. I think that's what it called, the Ministry of Truth. She blocked me. Nomiki Kantz blocked me. That's no loss. Let's see who else blocked me. That's kind of well known. Oh gosh, the name of that guy that worked for Cornell West, the one cannot think of the name of that guy that worked for Cornell West. He blocked me as well. So I had a few people that has blocked me over the years. So that's good. That's good. Let's see. Vancouver supports logging of Stanley Park and development initiatives in the park. When I see logging, it does kind of make me mad because it's kind of like there are people willing to destroy the environment for a buck. It's terrible. It's an important issue. So both of them are examples of where people in this country are. Let's see. I can't help but call him Ray Dubin. Yep, absolutely. Ministry of Truth. That one is a real win. Yeah, I was glad. You know what? All those people who were indifferent toward the Ministry of Truth or even for it on the Democratic side, they better thank God that it was put to a stop, because can you imagine a Ministry of Truth with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene running it? So if that's not frightening, I don't know what to say. But anyway, I will be back tomorrow. So I want to thank you all for showing up tonight. And also, I'm headed to work in a little while, as I don't want to do, but reality being reality. I will say this. If you like what you heard, please press like. It helps with algorithms. Comment and share the contents on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe to the Willy Bragg Show on all my platforms, please. If we could do that, that would be so awesome. And I will say this: free and pardon Ed Snowden, free Palestine, free healthcare for all, and let's fight to keep our freedom free for everyone. The First Amendment, keep it alive, and because it's our best friend to do that. Because without free speech, we have no way to organize the way we need to. So until next time, folks, I'll just say fuck Elon Musk. So y'all have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.